music, or noise. The sound to which our ears respond might be classified as either music or noise.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Low Limit Football on Low Limit Poker Radio. I am your host, Joe Usello, and tonight, back and better than ever, is my co-host, Ben the Machine. Ben, how are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's nice to be back. It's nice to so everyone can hear me. I can give my opinions on football again. I do apologise. Work commitments and a few other things. New football team have kept me at bay, but I'm going to do my best to try and get in when I can, and obviously get back with Joe and be a co-host again.
Fantastic. I'm glad to have you back. It is certainly rough trying to do this show by yourself. I did post something about that on Poker Fraud Alert, that doing this and talking by yourself for even 90 minutes, you actually get winded, where you almost feel like you're running, and then you wonder if you've run out of time and talking and everything. So it's always nice to have that back and forth. I think it adds to the show immensely. So I'm super happy to have you back, man. So let's jump into it. I mean, since we last met, we had the Thanksgiving week off here in the United States, and we obviously we've had games. We had last week we had Champions League, but what we'll do is we'll cover the European scores like we normally do. First of all, normally we tend to kind of breeze through the European scores, but we do some game analysis. But we're probably going to cut the analysis short tonight because we're trying to keep the show into 90 minutes, and we have a few segments that we've been working on. So, Ben, why don't you lead us off with La Liga and let us know what's going on?
Yeah, that's fine. We're starting the Liga. I'll go from Friday, November 29th. So from last weekend's games. Start off Friday, November 29th, like I said. On the Friday, you had Getafe and Levante. Getafe won that 1-0, and Villarreal drawing 1-1 with Malaga. We'll go on to the Saturday results. We had Elche losing 2-0 at home to Atletico Madrid. Diego Costa with another goal for Atletico. Celta Vigo beating Almeria 3-1 at home. Real Madrid winning 4-0 against Real Valladolid. Benzema with one, and Gareth Bale with his first hat-trick, which is good for Real Madrid, take a bit of pressure off Ronaldo. And the last game on the Saturday was Espanyol 1, Real Sociedad 2. We're going to the Sunday games, just to clear up the weekend. Real Betis drawing 2-2 at home with Rayo Vallecano. Granada losing 2-1 at home to Sevilla. Valencia beating Osasuna 3-0, and the surprise of the weekend, Atletico Bilbao beating Barcelona 1-0. Just going to go into the league quickly, Joe, so we can see how it's shaped up. We've got Barcelona top on 40 points with a 33 goal difference, closely followed by Atletico Madrid on the same points, 40 as well, but with a goal difference of 31, so only 2 goal difference at the top there. And then in third, Real Madrid 3 points behind on 37 points, and Bilbao 8 points behind. Kind of what we thought, really, Joe. Not too much has changed there. Obviously, we'll talk about Champions League in a minute, but Barcelona losing, and it's really tight at the top again there, Joe.
Yeah.
And Atletico Madrid, they're still there, and it's kind of what we expected, really. They've looked like a good team. They're still
Certainly, Ben. I don't know. Have we lost you, Ben?
Be there, come 6 months from now.
Okay, I agree. Atletico, we'll see how long they can hold on to this for. I'm interested. The one question I have about La Liga in general, especially our top two teams of Barcelona and Real Madrid, is do you think Barca misses Messi more than Real Madrid misses Cristiano Ronaldo?
I would say at the moment it does look a little bit like that. Like I'm going to talk a little bit about Barcelona and the Champions League afterwards, but it does seem that a lot of Barcelona's play does go through Messi. I have had a chance to see a little bit of Barcelona, and to be fair to Neymar, he has stepped up, and the few games that I've got to see him play without Messi, he seems to thrive a little bit more on that. But still saying that they're definitely missing something. If they can find a way of getting Messi and Neymar fit at the same time, I think they'll be fine. And for me, they're still favourite. I do think Real Madrid look a little bit more fragile than Barcelona, but I think anyone of Messi's quality, I mean, he's won the Ballon d'Or, like, is it top 3 years in a row? So for me, anyone in the world is going to miss that kind of player. And I think in this division, especially now with Atletico Madrid coming through, you look at those players, Ronaldo, Costa and Messi as the three players for those teams. I think any one of those three teams, if they have one of those players out for a long period of time, they're going to be in trouble and most probably drop away. So you could see this league come down to where Atletico Madrid either come under pressure and start to realise where they are, or if Ronaldo or Messi get long-term injuries, then they could be the team that fall away. So you could be looking at whoever gets luckiest injury-wise that could take the toll.
Certainly. So go ahead. I'm sorry, because I kind of interrupted you. If you want to continue with the bottom of the of La Liga.
Yep, it's as tight as the bottom, really, as it is at the top in La Liga. Real Betis propping up the table, 10 points in 20th position. And then you have Almeria in 19th with 12 points and a minus 16 goal difference. And then Real Valladolid even. They just put that in there for the fun for me. They're also on 12 points, minus 9 goal difference. But then if we look at the teams just slightly outside the relegation zone, you've got two teams above them, Rayo Vallecano and then Osasuna above them, both only 1 point clear of the relegation zone on 13. Minus 21 and 14 respectively. Then it's only another 1 point to Malaga. So, there's only 3 points between 14th and 19th in that division. It seems to be as tight at the bottom as well. And, 3 from 6 could lose the league, and, 1 from 3 could win the league, in my opinion.
Sure. It's amazing just when you look at the table in a whole that the top 3 are tight. They're within 3 points. And when you go back to the table, the bottom 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bottom 5 are within 3 points of each other. So it's kind of a top-heavy league in general for La Liga. But that'll wrap up the tables and scores for La Liga. What we'll do is we'll move on to the French league, and again we'll start roughly around the same time Ben said, starting with November 29th. We have Marseille with a 2-0 win at home to Montpellier. Moving on to Saturday, we had Valenciennes losing at home 1-0 to Lille, which we'll talk about a little later on. Toulouse with a 5-1 win over Sochaux. Lorient with a 3-0 win over Nice. Guingamp with a 1-0 win at home to Nantes. And actually, most of these wins are all home. Monaco with a home 2-0 win to Stade Rennes. And Saint-Etienne with a 4-0 home win over Stade de Reims. Going on to Sunday, we had Paris Saint-Germain with a 4-0 home win over Lyon, Bastille with a 2-0 home win over Evian, and Bordeaux with a 4-0 win at home to Ajaccio. Like I said, the only road team to win, Valenciennes. And then results from earlier today, Nice with a 3-0 home loss to Monaco, Nantes with a 2-1 home win against Valenciennes, and Lille with a 1-0 win at home against Marseille. Moving on to the French tables, again we're starting to get a little tighter at the top, and it's kind of a trend. We saw Barcelona and Atletico tied on 40 points with Real Madrid only 3 points back. In France, we have PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, with a 37-point, and this is after 15 matches. Some of these teams have 16 matches in the books. So Paris Saint-Germain at 37 points. Lille with on 16 matches at 36 points, and I think that's going to come into what we want to talk about a little later on. Monaco in third place on 16 matches and 35 points. And Marseille in fourth place, 16 matches, 27 points, bringing up the rear or holding up the table. At the bottom, we have Sochaux on 15 matches and 8 points. Ajaccio on 15 matches and 8 points as well. Sochaux minus 17 goal differential. Ajaccio minus 16. Valenciennes on 16 matches and 10 points with a minus 11. And it looks like those are going to be the three relegated teams, because the next step up is Montpellier, and they're on 15 matches, but they're also on 15 points. So they're 5 points outside the relegation zone. And again, like I said, the shocker here, or the team to really keep an eye on lately, is this Lille team. Playing some very, very good football. They have a string of 1-0 results in the league. They've only given up, if I go back to my table here, they have only given up so far in the season. They've only given up 4 goals. So 4 goals in 16 matches, just an incredible run. So it's a team bearing, that bears a little bit of watching. They play defense well. They have a good goaltender. So they don't score a ton of goals. They've only scored 18 in 16 matches, but when you're winning matches 1-0, it doesn't matter if you're winning 1-0 or 5-0. You're still getting 3 points every time.
They're the French Arsenal of old.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to the Bundesliga, and let us know what's going on there, Ben.
Yep, we'll go to Friday, November 29th, to start us off again. On the Friday, Wolfsburg drew 1-1 with Hamburg. Going on to the Saturday, when the page decides to load. How long we're having? There we go, it's coming. Going on to the Saturday, Leverkusen beating Nuremberg 3-0. Bayern Munich, talked about the team a lot on the show, winning 2-0 versus TSV, 2 goals for Ryan Robben. Hertha Berlin drawing 0-0 with Augsburg. Mainz losing 3-1 at home to Borussia Dortmund. A highlights game of the week, if you get to see it. I did actually see the highlights of this. You should watch it just for the sheer amount of goals. But TSG Hoffenheim drawing 4-4 with Werder Bremen. Fun game for the neutral. And last game on the Saturday was Schalke beating Stuttgart 3-0 at home. We'll just go on to the Sunday to close up the weekend. Hanover beating Frankfurt 2-0 at home. And the last game was Borussia Mönchengladbach beating Freiburg 1-0. Just take a look at the table. Much the same as when I was last on the show, really. Bayern Munich leading the way, 38 points. They still haven't lost a game, 1-12 and drew 2. Bayern Leverkusen 4 points behind on 34, and then followed by Dortmund on 31. And then just outside the Champions League place, we have Mönchengladbach, 28 points and 3 points off the third place Dortmund. If we look at the opposite end of the table at the bottom, we have TSV propping up the table, 8 points and a -8 goal difference. Nuremberg in 17th also on 8 points, but a -16 goal difference. In the playoff relegation zone, we have Freiburg 3 points clear on 11 points with a -11 goal difference. And then just one place above that playoff space, we have Eintracht Frankfurt, who are also on 11 points, but -9. And then it's a 3 points to 14th with TSG Hoffenheim. Much like the other divisions, Joe, really. It seems like the top is kind of pulling away and the bottom seems to be a bit locked in. Just a quick word about the German league. I mean, Munich still going strong, 25 goal difference. They're pretty much winning. Just looking to see how many goals they've let in. 7 goals in 14 games. But more importantly, they're scoring 32 goals. And if you look at Leverkusen, their nearest rivals, they've scored a similar amount of goals, but letting in twice as many. Just Munich, for me, they look leagues above. I know they won the league by 20 points last year. They're going to be the ones to catch for me.
And right now, even when you take into consideration their Champions League results, is anybody playing better soccer right now than Arjen Robben?
I don't think so. I was actually having a conversation with one of my friends about this the other day. The guy has just got better with age. It's just I don't know what it is. I guess it's not even Ryan Giggs syndrome. I don't know what it is really. He just seems to have got older and be better, post 28, 29 than in his peak when you're supposed to be around 26, 27, which kind of defies physics. But no, not really, not for me. He's playing really, really well. I think the team are playing really, really well. They're all thriving off each other. You can just see they're playing for each other, and they keep the ball so well. They look so comfortable, like they were born to pass the ball. And like I said, for me, at this moment in time, Bayern Munich are the best team in the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. What I always enjoy about watching Arjen Robben play is the speed at which he plays at. He just plays so fast. He almost, I don't want to say reminds you of Messi. He reminds you of Messi in the gear that he plays in. That it's just moving so much faster. Like some of these players, they play at a certain speed, and it's their speed. Messi plays at a certain speed, and it's beyond everybody. Arjen Robben plays at that kind of speed. The only thing I can think of is Andrea Pirlo. Now Andrea Pirlo doesn't outfast everybody. He plays at his own speed, and his own speed is deadly. It's just it's the one characteristic I've always noticed about Arjen Robben is he just plays. It seems like he's a step faster than everybody else on the field with the exact same skill, and he's playing wonderful, wonderful football right now.
Just to touch on that, I think that's what I mean. It just, for me, at that age, to still have the speed to be, so much quicker than everyone else on the pitch. And I think he's also got the advantage of he's got so much experience behind him. And when you put speed and experience, I know Messi has played a lot of games, but obviously Robben's been around, a lot longer than those extra seasons. For me, I don't per se think he's a better player than Messi, but I think in this team that's got so many good players playing for each other, he's thriving at the moment, and I think any team in the world at this moment would love to have him in the squad. Oh,
agreed. I agree 100%. So let's move on to Italy. Let's move on to Serie A. So we'll head back to the our marker there. We didn't play any Friday games on the 29th, so we're going to go to the 30th. Looks like a bunch of draws now that I'm looking at the whole schedule. We start out with Genoa with a 1-1 draw at Torino. I'm sorry, at home to Torino. Parma with a 1-1 draw at home to Bologna. Juventus with a 1-0 win against Udinese on Sunday the 1st. I did see part of this game. This is a Llorente goal in the 90th minute. And this game was actually kind of entertaining, back and forth, but Juve finds a way to pull it out in the end. Inter with a 1-1 draw at home to Sampdoria. Chievo Verona with a 3-0 win over Livorno at home. Cagliari with a 2-2 draw with Sassuolo. Atalanta in what would easily be considered a mild upset, 1-1 draw at home to Roma. Catania with a 3-1 loss to AC Milan. A little bit of controversy that I heard about in this match was apparently there were racial slurs being thrown back and forth at Mario Balotelli, which caused a little bit of controversy in the match. I saw that on beIN Sport today, so something it amazes me it still exists. But
just quickly, Joe, just while you go for this, because I don't want to take up too much time, but I did read something just briefly today about Juventus being fined about child chants or something about that. Obviously, being a Juventus fan, do you know anything about
that? I heard a little bit about it. That they were fined that there were so many tickets that they couldn't sell or something along those lines. And what happened was they ended up filling the stadium with children. So kids got to go see this. I'm pretty sure it was this match this weekend against Udinese, and so the kids got a little bit of a thrill to see the Juve team. I forget what the actual punishment was, or what it was for. I couldn't remember if it was racial, slurs again or not. But like I said, this thing tends to happen quite a bit all around Europe, unfortunately. So. But at least they made something good of it by getting kids to come out and come to the game, and they filled the stadium. So, moving on to Monday, just yesterday, we had Lazio losing at home 4-2 to Napoli. I believe Gonzalo Higuain with a brace in that one, and Fiorentina with a 4-3 win at home to Hellas Verona. I did not see this game, but from what I had heard, my understanding is it was just on 7 goals, it should be entertaining. But my understanding was that it was a back and forth battle. So let's move on to the tables in Serie A, which I think we have quite the surprise coming up here. Because all season we've been talking about one team, and that team still hasn't actually lost a match. We're talking about Roma. Roma seemed like at the beginning of the season they were going to just up and run away with this league. They are now in second place. Juventus, and this is after 14 matches, on 37 points with a plus 19 goal differential. Then you have second place Roma. Again, no losses, but they've drawn their last 4. They are on 34 points and at plus 23. Third place is Napoli, 31 points. And then we move into fourth, where we're in the Europa League. Internazionale and Fiorentina are both tied on 27 points. Inter with a plus 17, Fiorentina with a plus 10 on the goal differential. Moving down to the bottom, it's nice to see that our friends at Sassuolo are out of the cellar, quite solidly actually. We're going to bring up the rear with Catania on 9 points, minus 16. Sampdoria, which is kind of a surprise. People are surprised to see Sampdoria, normally historically a team that's done very well in Italy. That they at worst they've ridden in the middle of the table, and now they are in the relegation zone at 11 points and a minus 9 goal differential. And Livorno on 12 points, minus 10, just ahead of Bologna, who is also on the same setup, 12 points and a minus 10 goal differential. Chievo Verona is also on 12 points, but a minus 7. So that is our Italian Serie A. Ben, do you want to head over to England?
Yep, we'll go to the Premier League now. No matches on the Friday in England, so we're going to go straight to Saturday, the 30th. We'll start off with Aston Villa drawing 0-0 at home to Sunderland. Cardiff lost 3-0 at home to Arsenal. Arsenal going strong again, 2 goals for Ramsey again, scoring machine at the moment. Everton beating Stoke 4-0 at home. Our man Romelu Lukaku scoring another goal. Joe, I'm sure the Chelsea fans are really happy about that.
Not at all.
Going on to the next game, Norwich beating Crystal Palace 1-0. West Ham beating Fulham 3-0. And Newcastle beating West Brom 2-1. Go on to the Sunday game. Just to wrap up the weekend. Yeah, there was no other games this week. Probably the tie of the weekend, Tottenham and Manchester United. That finished 2-2, 2 goals for Rooney, but Manchester United losing a little bit of pace there, and only picking up a point. But tough game at White Hart Lane. The shock result of the weekend, obviously, Hull beating Liverpool 3-1. A bit of an upset and showing that the Premier League's got a lot of quality throughout. My picks for the season: Chelsea beating Southampton 3-1. Demba Ba chipping in there as well, and the 2 centre backs, Cahill and Terry. And Sir Bob's boys beating Swansea 3-0. The Grado with the first, and Nasri with 2. Just gonna have a quick look at the table. Top of the table, as they've been there for a while now, Arsenal on 31 points, followed by Chelsea in second, 4 points adrift on 27. Manchester City third on 25 points. In the final Champions League spot in fourth is Liverpool on 24. Closely followed by Everton also on 24, but with an 8 goal difference. Liverpool have 9, and 1 point outside of the Champions League places. The Europa places, sorry. Newcastle on 23. Very tight at the top there. You got Southampton and Manchester United below that, and Tottenham below that. I mean, you look at that top 9. It's a very strong league now, the Premier League. I know we have that argument, what's the best league? We will touch upon it one day. We'll go to the bottom of the league and look at the relegation places. Propping up the league in 20th, Crystal Palace on 7 points. And we have Sunderland in 19th on 8 points. Fulham in 18th on 10 points. And then we have 3 teams above them: Cardiff, Stoke, and then West Ham, all on 13. Cardiff minus 9, Stoke minus 6, and West Ham minus 2. Once again, Joe, Arsenal going strong. They do look good. I think if they buy in January, they've definitely got a decent chance.
I think it's going to depend too what they do in the in the transfer window. If they tend to strengthen that defense up a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I meant by January. Sorry, I said January transfer window, but yeah.
So that as long as I don't know. Do you see Arsene Wenger being able to take these guys all the way to the end?
I honestly do believe they need to buy a centre back and a striker. I don't. Vermaelen seems to have been a bit off the pace this year. And also, you look at that team up front. I think if Giroud gets injured, they're going to be in trouble. But obviously, we're going to talk about it a little bit later that they've been linked to Dzeko. I think they do need to buy another striker. I think possibly he's a good fit. But like I said, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I think if they don't lose any players and they can keep these players fit, especially players like Giroud and Ramsey are doing amazing, scoring all those goals. But I do think, as a few people have touched upon, I do know a lot of Arsenal fans and a lot of Chelsea and ManCity and Man United fans talking about Arsenal. But the main point seems to be Ramsey. He can't keep up that goal pace. He just he can't. He's played really, really well this year. But his goals, I think he scored 8 or 9 goals or something this season. You can't really expect that in the second half of the season. It's a little bit out of the ordinary. I'm sure he'll chip in, but that's a little bit out of the ordinary. So they're going to rely more upon Giroud, in my opinion, even with Ozil providing the goals to be scored. So I just think they do need a backup striker because it's bound to happen. He's bound to get a nick or a knock. And for me, they need to go out and buy another striker, and maybe Dzeko will fit that mould. But yeah, once again, the Premier League's tight, and at the moment, me and Joe are both getting it wrong. But we didn't know Arsenal being the work show, did we? It's still way too early to really do. Of course, yeah.
I've got to say the one thing that I'm impressed with is how about the Magpies? Amazing. I can remember 3 or 4 weeks ago they were just barely staying out of the relegation zone, and here we are. We're 1 point out of the Europa League now. It's. I think they've made an incredible turnaround. So that
1 point off the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, because they would get into that play-in spot over Liverpool. The other thing that happened this week was Fulham fired Martin Jol as their manager. I can't remember the new gentleman that took over the spot in the interim, but my understanding is that he is a disciple of Sir Alex. Do you know any more about that, Ben?
I don't really know that much about him. No, I mean I did hear a little bit that he was like a step down from Alex, but no, I don't know too much about him. I do believe it's only an interim position at the moment. I'd be surprised if they keep him there long term. There's a few managers that have worked now. Obviously, Owen Coyle's left Wigan as well. Just got relegated last season. So there's a few managers there probably looking for jobs, and I don't know. I mean, you don't know what's going on beyond in the back doors of Fulham. I mean, maybe their plan was if Martin Jol didn't pick up, come around Christmas time, then they would use him long term. So I do think it's kind of just hang on and wait and see with Fulham, but. A London club, I would be a little bit sad to see him go down. If I'm honest, in the English Premier League, I'd rather see a Welsh team go down, but that's just a little bit biased.
I don't know. Cardiff seems to avoid that all the time. So, but Cardiff and Swansea, Cardiff's only 3 points out of the relegation. Swansea's only 5. You may get your wish. So
okay.
So let's wrap up England and let's What do you say, Ben? Let's head over to the Champions League.
Yep. Just say hi to Matt LeBlanc, who's joined the chat, and we'll go straight into Champions League. So
just to let you guys know, Matt is waiting for me to come down. That's where I play my poker on Tuesday nights at the cigar shop, and as soon as we're done here, we're going to head down there and see if we can win a few cigars. So, thanks for listening, Matt, and thanks for jumping in the chat room.
He's just trying to get a read off you, see how shaky you are on the football.
Yeah. Well,
okay, we'll go into the Champions League. Like I said, we're going to try and go through the scores quite quick, but I'm going to pick out a couple of games to talk to. The very first game on the Tuesday, which a surprise result, Joe. Basel beating Chelsea 1-0. Salah 3 minutes from time. Not good for Chelsea now. They've got to go into the last game and they need to get some kind of result, but. I still think you can see Chelsea go through. Steaua Bucharest drawing 0-0 at the other game in the group with Schalke. We're going to Group F. Arsenal kept their winning ways. We're going to talk a little bit about this game. It was 2-0 to Arsenal, like I said. Jack Wilshere scoring both the goals for Arsenal. all but secure a place in the knockout stages now. You look at Arsenal; they should win the group, and like I said, they're pretty much through. I was going to say here, a draw on match day 6 away to Napoli, who lost 3-1 to Dortmund. We'll see Arsenal go through, and they can actually lose, Joe. The defeat could also be enough to go through on head-to-head result and goal difference. So if things go their way, they might not even need to win, Joe, in the last game to go through, which is a nice place to be in. Maybe they could rest a few players. I don't know if you got to see the Ozil penalty, Joe. Very, very poor for someone of his class and that amount of money to bring in there. What a weak penalty. I know he's been a little bit inconsistent of late, but like I said, they were all over Marseille, really. I mean, Arsenal 15 shots, 5 on target. Marseille only had 6 shots, only 2 of those on target, and Arsenal had 2/3 of the possession. Quite comfortable, really. But Marseille still did, from those 2 shots, they still did have those chances were quite good chances. 3 of them had a shot which was parried, and it hit Chesney and it looped towards the goal. And I don't know if you got to see it, Joe, but Monreal, fullback, ran around the edge and managed to clear it off the line. It was good clearance, really. So it can always still go wrong. You need all your defenders to be turned on, and they showed that they're working well as a team.
No, I did see a little bit of it.
Did you see it? Chesney also made a good save. A near post save. I believe it was Florian, I believe, who took the shot for Marseille, but it was a good save. So even though they did have 2 shots, they both tested the goalkeeper, and on another day they scored one of those goals. But like I said, I think Arsenal deserved it, really. And Cazorla and Walcott both had a couple of chances for Arsenal. Like I said, it could have been 3 or 4 easy.
Yeah, I think Marseille's been disappointing. I've expected more of them out of at least this level of the Champions League. I mean, they're certainly in the group of death, but they've only scored 4 goals. They've given up 12. I rather unimpressive.
Yeah, I believe that as well. I do think, like you said, I think they must have been pretty upset with a draw. But like you said, they should be doing better than that, especially a team of Marseille's quality. All they can do is try and qualify again and come back next year stronger. Just touching quickly upon Ozil. Obviously, it's been a bit inconsistent of late. I don't know if you've had much chance to see him, Joe, on the Premier League. Last couple of games, 2-3 games, he hasn't looked quite like the Ozil from the beginning of the season. But the difference for me between very good players and world-class players is they just don't let their heads drop. Even though he missed the penalty, he looked a bit lacklustre. He still had the awareness for the second goal to look up rather than shooting himself. He didn't put his head down, he didn't blast it, he looked up and found Wilshere to score the second goal. And that's the difference for me. A lesser player would have maybe not been in that position or not had the thought to look across the box, play the right ball. So that's what you're paying for when you look at that level. And like I said earlier, I really do think with Arsenal doing good domestically and in Europe, 1 or 2 more players this season, and they could be the real surprise, the team that we're talking about come the end of the season. Just go on with the rest of the results for the day. We had Dortmund beating Napoli 3-1, and then we're going to Group G. Zenit drawing 1-1 with Atletico Madrid. A little bit of a surprise there for me. Although Zenit have been quite decent, a lot better team than they were a few years ago, I did fancy Atletico Madrid, but it's still hard to go to Russia and get 3 points, so not the end of the world with 1-1 draw there. The other game in that group, in Group G, FC Porto drawing 1-1 with Vienna. And then we're going to Group...
Just to add before we go, Atletico Madrid has already qualified for the next round as well, so...
Yeah, I know they had already qualified. I didn't actually have a chance to look at the whole team. I do believe they had 1 or 2 players rested, but I guess maybe they were taking it a little bit easier with the qualification already done. And, with the stress of Barcelona and Real Madrid in the Spanish league, it's probably the right bit of managing to do that there. Just going into Group H, this is where I'm going to focus the rest of my attention. I'm going to do the Celtic game first, Joe. Celtic losing 3-0 at home to Milan. Kaká, Zapata and Balotelli this is a game, Joe, that on paper you look at the 3-0 and you think, oh yeah, okay, it was a very comfortable result for Milan, but it really wasn't. Celtic had, they had a little bit more of the ball, 55-45. They kept the ball pretty well, really. They ended up having 20 shots in the game. Celtic, only 4 of them on target, and Milan only having 3 on target. But Celtic had quite a lot of the ball. That they were playing the ball round quite well. They looked quite confident. At the start of the second half, and the Celtic defender, I believe Dzeko. I think it was Dzeko, complete sitter. That could have made it 1-1, and then you're looking at a different game. I do think if Celtic were a bit more clinical, if they had a little bit more quality up front, they definitely could have got something for this game. And then, at 2-0 they had an offside goal. Dzeko again. So, you're looking at that game and you're thinking it looks comfortable when you read the results, but it's just really coming down to how clinical the team was, and I think AC Milan's experience came there. I mean, it's not easy to go to Celtic Park and get a result, and AC Milan would be more than happy to go to Scotland and get 3-0 there. Especially when you looked at the Milan's form before the game. They've only won 3 games, in Serie A this season, and they was without a win in 7, Joe, before this game. So, you could have been forgiven for thinking that Celtic could have got something from that game. Even though they can't, they're out now. There's no, they can't even make Europa now. But you felt like they would play their hearts out, and they did. But obviously AC Milan, I'm sure that busted a few coupons. Go to the other game in the group. This the biggest surprise of the midweek for me. Ajax beating Barcelona 2-1. No disrespect to Ajax, but for me, going 2-0 up against Barcelona and then losing a penalty, a player, and then Xavi scoring that penalty in the 49th minute, you most of the time you believe with 41 minutes to go against 10 men, Barcelona would go on and win that game, but they didn't. I did get a chance to see a little bit of it, but Ajax, they needed to win to keep their hopes alive to qualify from Group H. And they did. They absolutely played their socks off. Severo and Hosen netted their first European goals, and then obviously, like I said, Xavi penalty after Veltman was sent off. But Ajax, once the player got sent off and they went down to 10 men, it was fierce pressure from Barcelona. They really were backs to the wall, but the defence, they stood firm. They absolutely played their socks off. The midfield ran about, and it was a great performance in the end. And with AC Milan beating Celtic in the other game, that Ajax could have asked for a better Tuesday night than that, really. So now it goes down to the Ajax AC Milan game, and the winners are going to reach the knockout stages. So now in that group, that's going to make that a massive game.
And that game's at Milan on December 11th.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's going to be a massive game now for that group. But they both deserve, it. I mean, if Ajax are going to go and turn Barcelona over and AC Milan are going to go to Scotland, then well played to both of them. And whichever one makes the next round is going to fully deserve it. I will say one thing about the defence. I know it does sound a little bit like I pick on Barcelona's defence. I don't do it on purpose. I'm just trying to provide a subjective point of view. But the second Ajax goal, I don't know if you got a chance to see the highlights, Joe.
I didn't.
It was very poor defending by Barcelona. It really was. I mean, the uncertainty. They didn't look like they was comfortable playing together for that attack, and it just gave Ajax a chance that should not be happening in the Champions League. I mean, you wouldn't expect to see that in the Championship. So that for me was a big turning point, especially since if that doesn't happen, it's a draw. I know Barcelona already through, but you would think that with the history there, they would have took the draw or gone on to win, but especially against the 10 men. But like I said, Ajax stood firm, and Barcelona only had 2 shots on target. That's, for me, crazy for a Barcelona team, albeit with 64%, which isn't surprising. To only have 2 shots on target, Joe. You mentioned earlier, do they miss Messi more than Madrid miss Ronaldo? And I think, looking at the league game, And then looking at this game as well, I know it's a very small sample size, but 2 shots on target, Joe. You've got to put some of that down to them missing Messi.
I agree. It's definitely missing Messi, because Messi draws so much attention on the field that that guys like Alexis Sanchez and even your Andres Iniestas and those guys tend to get more space. Now, when they don't have to pay attention to a Messi out there, then these guys don't get that kind of space. So then now you see the shots go down and you see the passing go down. One other thing I want to point out about them is we've always known that Barcelona's defense, just structurally, their defense is suspect, and the quality of their defense, and it's always been disguised by the likes of Lionel Messi, the likes of people like Andres Iniesta that can take the ball and play that tiki-taka style and pass the ball and possess for 65-70%. You don't need to play defense when you can possess the ball for 70% of the time. Your ability to possess the ball is defense in itself. So
yeah,
I think when you don't have someone like a Lionel Messi that can make those passes and can control a game like that in the midfield, now you're seeing that kind of system fall apart a little bit. And because of that, you're seeing Barcelona lose these 1-0 matches and these 2-1 matches to these other teams, where really you don't expect them to lose 2-1 to Ajax. I don't care where they play that match. You just don't expect it. So,
like I said earlier, no disrespect to Ajax, but a team as big as Barcelona, you'd expect them, to go there and get a result, especially 10 men for 40 minutes.
Oh yeah.
If any team should be able to take a team apart. Yeah, with 10 men, 40 minutes, it should be Barcelona.
We should be talking about a 4-2, 5-2 Barcelona victory at that point.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, you would definitely not expect them to come out with nothing from that game, and I think it does show a little bit about the frailties, and I think it shows that if you have a real go at Barcelona and you can get at their defence, it's definitely the weak point of their team. And I do think if we do get to see the dream match, shall we say, the Barcelona-Bayern Munich game, I think Bayern Munich, the way that they work as a team and press as a team, this is another reason for me that why teams like Dortmund and stuff like that give Barcelona trouble, is because they press as a unit, and if you can press and put pressure on that defence, then they've shown that they can crack.
Right. Absolutely.
Just gonna just round off the Wednesday games. Just run through the results quickly. Got to give a shout to Manchester United winning 5-0 at Leverkusen. Valencia with the first, an own goal for the second. Johnny Evans and then Chris Smalling and Nani, spreading the goals out there. Joe, and they needed that. They really did. I mean, Manchester United for me is still looking a little bit shaky this year, and they need this Champions League, I think, if anything, as morale to boost on for the Premier League. Go to the next game in that group, Shakhtar Donetsk turning over Real Sociedad 4-0. A great result there for Donetsk, obviously. Group B, we had Juventus, your boys beating Copenhagen 3-1. Vidal with a hat-trick, 2 penalties in there.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this match at all. This match was actually pretty tight. This game was played in Italy, but obviously Vidal with 2 penalties, so not much to talk about there. It's that's not a 50-50 proposition, but the third goal Vidal scored was magical. It was a header that came in from a cross from Paul Pogba, and Vidal just comes through the air and just runs it across the goalie's face and into the opposite corner, and it was one of those goals that there was no way anyone on this earth would have stopped it. So it was, and all of a sudden, where Copenhagen, comes back to tie the match 1-1 in the 56th minute, Juventus just took control of it. And once that happened, the game was over.
Yeah, the Juventus class shone through there for me. Go to the other game in the group, Real Madrid and Galatasaray. Real Madrid winning 4-1, Sergio Ramos getting sent off in the 26th minute, but it obviously wasn't enough for Galatasaray. We saw Gareth Bale give him the lead. Galatasaray actually equalising a minute later, but Real Madrid having most of the play, and then Arbeloa, Di Maria and Isco with 10 minutes to go. 4-1 Real Madrid there. Going to Group C, Anderlecht losing 3-2 at home to Benfica, and Paris Saint-Germain winning 2-1 against Olympiacos. Verratti for PSG getting sent off just at the start of the second half. Ibrahimovic and Cavani with the goals for PSG. Going into Group D, just rounding off the Champions League, CSK Moscow losing 3-1 at home to Bayern Munich. Robin Gotza and Muller with a penalty, and Honda for CSKA. I actually got to see this game. I do tend to watch a lot of Bayern Munich now. I don't know why, I'm a closet fan, like I said. Robin was great. They were just another great team. It was a walk in the park. I don't know if you got to see it, Joe. The pitch, once again, it was snowing in the first half anyway. But it just didn't seem to affect Bayern Munich, really. My brother actually put a bet on this game, and he said, "Oh yeah, I think CSK, with the conditions, can get something from this game against Bayern Munich." But Bayern Munich, it just didn't seem to bother them. They just adjusted to the pitch. Okay, it's snowing, but they, obviously went out as a team and, and should we say, ploughed their way through for a bit of a bad joke for the show. But yeah, Bayern Munich, they just seem to get on with it and just get the job done. Going on to the last game and the other game in the group, ManCity beating Victoria Pleasant 4-2. Aguero, Nasri, Negredo and Dzeko, 1 goal for each of the strikers there for ManCity, and I'm sure SirBob was happy with that one. We're going to have a look at the Champions League groups just to finish off the Champions League here. We'll look at Group A first, Joe. Man United on 11 points. Donetsk on 8, Leverkusen on 7. Obviously, Real Sociedad out of it on 1. Man United have won the group, Joe. I mean, there's no way for Donetsk to catch them now. So it's a 1-horse race now, 2-horse race, sorry, between Donetsk and Leverkusen there. Bit surprising that Leverkusen are not a bit closer than that for me, but Man United winning the group, that'll be good for them, and seeded for the next stages. Like I said, I really think they needed that. And
that match is on Tuesday, Man United Donetsk at Old Trafford.
Yeah, so. It's not even in Leverkusen's hands now. I mean, albeit they'd rather be playing Sociedad at this moment than they would Man United. So we'll see how many players Manchester United rest. But yeah, it's going to be a close and interesting group. But I'm sure Man United fans are happy that they're through and seeded in first place. We go on to Group B. Got Real Madrid 13 points. They've won the group, but the second place in the group is not finished yet. We've got three teams that could all qualify for that second position. At the moment, we have Juventus in second on 6 points, and then we have Galatasaray and Copenhagen both on 4 points, both with a -7 goal difference. Galatasaray have scored 3 more goals. I'm not sure what the Galatasaray Copenhagen result was, Joe. I don't know if you know off the top of your head.
I don't, but I do know that with this scenario, Juventus just needs to tie. Because if they tie Galatasaray and Copenhagen wins, they'll both be on 7 points. And Juve has a victory and a draw against Copenhagen, so they'll go through based on head-to-head because they don't do a goal differential to start. So Juve just needs to tie. And being an Italian soccer team, they're the master of the tie, and they've got the defense to do it. So I think Juve goes through here. I don't know that it's easy, but I think they go through.
Yeah, I believe they do as well. And these were the 2 teams that we picked in that order beforehand, so not too many surprises there. Go to Group C. PSG qualified and they've won the group. 13 points cannot be caught. And then Anderlecht, rock bottom, cannot qualify, and we have Olympiacos and Benfica, both on 7 points. Benfica -1 goal difference. I think Olympiacos, I believe they beat them in their first game. But like I said, that's going to the last game as well, so one of Olympiacos or Benfica will go through.
Yep, Benfica at home to PSG and Olympiacos at home to Anderlecht.
So to me, it looks like Olympiacos for me, really. But we'll see. That's the thing about the Champions League games. There's so many good teams. We're going to see some upsets. Sorry, regardless. Going to Group D. Bayern Munich have won the group on 15 points, and Manchester City have finished second in the group on 12 points. CSK and Victoria Pleasant, 9 points behind, didn't really stand much of a chance in this group. I'm sure ManCity feel a bit aggrieved that they were in a group with Bayern Munich, but at the same time they can't draw Bayern Munich in the second round, so they're probably not too disappointed about that. But the best two teams going through from there as well. Group E, it's a very close group. The top three, obviously, Steaua Bucharest, 3 points propping up the group, but we have Chelsea in first on 9 points, followed by Basel on 8. And Schalke on 7. And like I said, that 1-0 loss against Basel for Chelsea, they would have qualified if they'd have won that game, but now the group's close. You'd still expect Chelsea to come out of this group, but I think Basel and Schalke, especially Basel for me in this group, they've really come and played out their skin. A small team, a Swiss team, I know they've got a little bit of Champions League experience, but you would have expected Schalke to come out with Chelsea. But I'd like to see Basel go through. To me, they, with the fact that they wear should we say, like a kind of a B Barcelona kit. I think Basel, they play really well. They play hard as a team, and obviously skill-wise and budget-wise, it's a lot lower than Chelsea. Chelsea definitely, obviously, but Schalke too. So it's nice to see these fairy tale teams come through. No one would really expect Basel to make the second round. We'll go to Group F. The group of death. We have Arsenal on 12 points. Like I said, they've all but won the group. If they can actually win the group with a loss, if the other result goes their way, sorry. I believe their last game is against Napoli. But yeah, I think they need. There's a certain way the game goes. I think Dortmund have to. I cannot remember off the top of my head. I think Dortmund have to lose by a certain amount, and whatever it is, basically, Arsenal are through for me in first position, and we're looking at Dortmund and Napoli both on 9 points in second and third. I think Napoli need to go and win at Arsenal, because you'd expect Dortmund to beat Marseille. So I think you're going to see. For me, I think Arsenal are going to take something against Napoli. I don't think they're going to want to break the rhythm that they've got into at this part of the season, and I don't think they'll really rest many players, Joe. I think they're going to go out on there, since they know they kind of need a point, because a loss they might not win the group. So I think you'll see Arsenal Napoli possibly be a draw, and Dortmund go through in second. Obviously, last year's beaten finalists, you'd expect them to go through. But once again, Joe, Arsenal have come through this group with Dortmund and Napoli, with ease, really. I know they did lose a game right at the beginning, but they're doing well again, Arsenal. And you've got to say, if they keep playing like this, like we said with the Premier League, they've got to be in the hat for being in the top 5 or 6 teams in the Champions League as well. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll obviously keep everyone updated. We'll go to Group G. Atletico Madrid, like Joe said earlier, they've won the group on 13 points. Great display by Atletico Madrid, winning 4, drawing 1. They've only let in 3, and they've scored 13 in 5 games. So that'd be good confidence for Atletico Madrid, and they're going to go through as dark horses for me as well in the Champions League. As far as the second spot, we've got Zenit on 6 points at the moment, and Porto on 5. So match day 6. There's a lot to play for there, the second place in that group. And we'll go to Group H, the second group of death, we shall say, with the Barcelona, Milan, Ajax, and still not a bad Celtic team, if you ask me, a hard-working Celtic team. But as far as the league goes, Barcelona on 10 points in first, AC Milan 8 points in second, and Ajax 7 points in third.
Barca's through because AC Milan plays Ajax in the last match, so one of them can catch Barca, but not both of them.
Yeah, it's just for winning the league now. Barcelona already through; they're just playing for top spot. But I believe Barcelona have to lose, and AC Milan have to beat Ajax to win the group. I don't really see Barcelona losing at Celtic, but stranger things have happened. But Barcelona, I'd after seeing how Ajax played against Barcelona, if they can put on that kind of display, there's no reason to say they can't beat AC Milan. And if they can, if they can pull that upset out, then Ajax, who have got a lot of Champions League history, as have AC Milan, but of late, it would be nice to see Ajax back in there and sporting the red or the white in the Champions League second round. That's the roundup for the Champions League, and once it's finished, we shall let everyone know the second round draw, and we'll do predictions on that.
Absolutely, that they'll be playing those matches again, December 10th and 11th. So we'll know next week. Actually, this time next week when we have our next show, we'll actually have the Tuesday results. So matches like Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Juventus will know their fates. And the big matchup, which would be the ManCity Bayern Munich match, which would be certainly interesting to watch. We'll know all those results, and we'll bring them to you, on our next show for sure. But I think what we'll do is we'll end up saving the predictions for after we get the Wednesday matchups and we get our draws and everything. We'll go ahead and start talking about that stuff. So let's move on. Let's do SirBob's ManCity corner. And unfortunately, I don't know where SirBob is. He's been missing off of Twitter now for a couple of weeks, so I haven't seen nor heard from him. But of course, in his honor, we'll still continue to have that program for him. So what we found for this week's ManCity corner is, as usual, now that we're getting close to the transfer window, we've got rumors of people going away. Sergio Aguero and Edin Dzeko are linked to moves. Ben, did you get a chance to read this story at all?
I did actually. I was reading this in preparation from the show. I must admit some of the rumours are from, shall we say, tabloid. So, don't take these rumours to heart so much. But we're going to talk about them anyway because I do think they're interesting, and I do think one of them is particularly interesting. But we'll talk about Barcelona and Aguero first, Joe. I'll say what I think about it first because I want to talk a little bit more about the other one a bit more. But what do you think? Barcelona, Aguero, Joe, do you think he'll go? Is he a good signing? What do you think? I
don't think he goes. I don't think City allows him to go. I think right now he's probably it's either him or Mesut Ozil, but one of the two are absolutely the best players in England right now. I don't think there's anybody else I would put in that list besides those two players. You and I play in the PFO, the Premier League Fantasy League, and everyone's got either Mesut Ozil, Sergio Aguero, or both, and it's for a reason. Sergio Aguero, I think in the last 5 or 6 matches, has scored almost 2 goals a game. If he's not scoring the goals, he's setting them up. There's no way Man City lets him walk away and go to Barcelona. I don't know that he'd really fit in at Barcelona, though, if you think about it. When you've already got guys like Neymar and Messi clogging up the midfield with Iniesta, where do you put them? How many soccer balls can you actually put on the field?
Yeah, it's kind of Barcelona. They don't really play with an out-and-out striker for me. And although Aguero, I wouldn't say he's like Rooney. He's definitely not number 10 for me. But he's kind of that kind of in between number 10 and number 9 role, kind of like a 9.5 kind of role. But like you said, he's just played brilliant this year. He has absolutely stormed the planet. And like I said, for me, Aguero and Aguero, the skill level there and the sheer, they're both so clinical. And Aguero, for me, he just looks great. When he's on form, he's just so good. He just doesn't miss. But like you touched upon, Joe, I don't think he's going to leave. And I do think even if he was to leave, I don't think that Man City would let him leave in January. I also think that Man City have got a very decent chance of going on a long unbeaten run even. And he looks at home in this City team, and I do think, even in the back of his mind, if he was thinking about it, I couldn't see him not at least giving it to the end of the season. Would Barcelona tempt him? Would he think about it? Of course he would think about it. It's Barcelona, but could they tempt him away in January? No. Could they tempt him away in the summer? It depends, but I think he looks at home in this Man City team. It looks like he was made to play in this team. So I think this is kind of a bit of a, pardon my French, but crap rumour, really. For me, I can't see it happening. But just quickly, Joe, if he did go, how much?
Oh, he'd get bail money. He would get in the realm of you'd have to see 100 million euro minimum to transfer. I don't see that. I don't see him going for any less than that. What did Bale get? I think it was 120. Wasn't that the transfer fee for Gareth Bale?
Yeah, I think it worked out in English money about 100 million or 105. So yeah, it would be about 115, 120 euro. Yeah, so. Yeah, I mean, I had a little look and I wrote down 85 million, but yeah, I mean, for me, that 100 million mark, 90 million, that would be for me, because Man City have got enough money, they don't need to sell him. Right. So for me, if he was to go, they'd have to buy his contract out, and how much he means to City, and like I said, they're not a club that is going to sell their best players, so I think it's kind of a bit of a rubbishy rumour, and I wouldn't be quaking in my boots if I was SirBob. But yeah, I like I said, he's too good. Man City are too big a team. I also
think like we're talking about, like you said, this team was kind of made for him to play on. I honestly think he's especially with the magic that he started to create with Negredo. When you watch them week in and week out, I think Negredo is the right partner for him. Even better than Tevez was, which is amazing because they're both Argentinians. But I think Negredo, for some reason, he just plays so much better with Negredo than he did with Tevez. And furthermore, just on the Tevez part, to me, Tevez is playing well at Juventus. I don't think he's playing nearly as well as when he played at Man City. I thought he played much better at Man City. So I think this team is built for him. And I think with the manager now, whose name just went right out of my brain, Pellegrini, with Pellegrini at the helm, I think Pellegrini brings a style that's conducive to the way Aguero plays. I don't see him. I think, like you said, I think pardon your French, but the rumor's crap.
Yeah. Just last point, last sentence for me. The only way I could even see this being even feasible, and even then you're looking at something silly like 10-1, would be if Man City dropped away, finished 6th, and he really wanted to move. That would be the only way, and even then it would be long. So for me, it's a bit of a it's a rubbish rumour, and I would leave it alone and ignore it.
Now, the second part of that rumour, though, I think bears a lot more meat, is the Edin Dzeko to Arsenal part. This
is what I thought. I'll go first on this one, Joe, since you went first on the last one. But like I said, I think this is a lot more feasible. I mean, Dzeko's not playing every week. He's definitely a kind of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer role at Man City. They're kind of bringing him on to score goals when they're not getting goals, or they're already ahead and they want fresh legs. And on top of this, the kind of the other parts of the story is, like I was saying earlier, Arsenal need a striker. And if you're looking for a striker that scores goals, Dzeko showed last year that if you play him every week, he'll score goals. And Arsenal have only got one striker, like I said. They're going to look to go out and buy a striker. And if he's got a clause in his contract, I mean, I'm not sure what it would be. I mean, you're probably looking maybe around 25, 30 million, something like that. But I think it would be a good fit at Arsenal. I really do. I think he's a good player for Arsenal. He may possibly want to go. I mean, you don't know what he's thinking. Does he want to play a bit part at Man City, or would he go to Arsenal, and then would they decide to go 2 up top and play Dzeko? God, his name's gone out of my head at the moment.
Negredo?
No, the Arsenal striker.
Giroud.
Giroud, that's it. I knew his French. It's too many names when you're doing a show. Sometimes they fall out. But yeah, would they go 2 up top, or would they play 1 at a time, or And for me, Dzeko and Giroud, I think they could play together. I really do, and I think Arsenal need that depth. Do you think he'll go, Joe, if they put a bid in?
I think if the price is right, I think they would send him. When we as we've talked about through the whole show, we've got Dzeko riding the bench. He doesn't get in. He doesn't get that consistent time. a la Romelu Lukaku, which is another story we'll talk about for another day. But he doesn't get the time on the pitch. You've got a situation where, like we talked about with Arsenal still needs to put some depth in there. And like you said, Giroud picks up a knock and he's out for 2-3 weeks. They really don't have anybody. I don't think Ramsey can keep up the pace that he's keeping at right now. And then who else does Ozil feed at that point? So I think you combine that with the fact of the emergence of Negredo. I think they certainly bring him in. And you bring in an Arsenal team with when you play them with two strikers, when you play with Giroud and Dzeko up top, and you've got guys like Ozil and Ramsey playing behind them, I think they become a much more potent team to pay attention to. I think the move is good for Dzeko. I think the move is good for Arsenal. Is it good for Man City? I don't know, because he is the striker behind Negredo. So now you run into the same depth issue at Man City that you have now at Arsenal. So if he moves on, now Man City needs to make a move and pick up a striker that can play behind Negredo and fill in the gaps there. I mean, there's just thinking on Juventus, there's about 2 or 3 on there that they could probably part with one that maybe Man City could pick up, but you'd need to replace him. I don't think he's as expendable a part as you would think because of his limited playing time, but he's somebody that you certainly could. It would be beneficial to at least Arsenal and to Edin Dzeko to go to Arsenal than it would be for him to stay at Man City.
You touched upon my next question for you, Joe. If they did sell him, we'll just assume for argument's sake they got 30 million. Who would you replace him with?
Let's see. Okay. Just going right to Juventus, you pick up a guy like Quagliarella. He would be a guy, or even he's the atomic ant, Giovinco. Although Giovinco, I don't think the physicality of the Premier League. I don't know that Giovinco would do quite as well. I think a guy like Quagliarella. Quagliarella is 28, 29 years old. He's not exactly, on the upslope of his career, but he currently comes on and he replaces players. Or what? Now that I'm thinking about it, how about a guy like Mirko Vucinic from Serbia? I'm pretty sure. No, I'm sorry. He's Serbian, I believe. A guy like Vucinic would be a perfect figure. Now, does Juventus let him go because Vucinic is the guy that comes on for Llorente and he comes on for Tevez, and with the emergence of Llorente at Juventus, Vucinic and Quagliarella become a little more expendable. So do you do that? Do you go pick up one of those guys? Quagliarella is a little more speed. Vucinic is a little more body, almost like a la Balotelli. You've got to remember Balotelli was there at one point as well. So I would think that's probably the first place I would knock. That's the first door I would knock on. Juve would certainly turn that money into something. It may even, on a personal standpoint, getting rid of them and keeping the money might cause Juve to keep Andrea Pirlo, because there's been rumor of him going on. But yeah, that's the first place I would look, is a place like that. I don't think Man City can afford to go to like a PSG and pick up not necessarily rumor has it that Zlatan Ibrahimovic is on the market. I don't think you could start spending the money like that. I think you need to go and pick up a guy that's not necessarily a B player or but kind of like an A1 player where he's just behind the top dog. So that would be my kind of striker to pick up.
I do think they're all good options. One option that for me seems like it would be in that kind of price range and seems to be should we say adapting to the Premier League quite well, is Jay Rodriguez at Southampton. I don't know if you've seen him play much, Joe, but I got to see him play a bit for England, and I've watched quite a lot of Southampton this year, and he's way too good for Southampton. He will score goals in the Premier League. He looks very, very comfortable at this level. He's still young. He's coming through, and I think Southampton, they would snap up the money. As much as they still get a lot of players in their stadium, they've only just come back into the Premier League. I think a bid of around about 20 million would take him, and I'm not saying he would be a definite replacement, but somebody like that for me to have that kind of option on your bench, I think he would be a great kind of like, should we say, bench kind of striker for a team like ManCity. So, obviously there's a lot of options, and we haven't got time to talk about it for ages. But yeah, you said a lot of options. There's still a few floating about in England. I mean, if Lukaku still doesn't want to go back to Chelsea, then take someone like Lukaku. I mean, if he, I know he wants to play games and stuff like that, but if you can get these players on, but there's still a lot of good strikers around, and we'll see how it turns out. But like I said, that Dzeko deal, and like you said, he's not expendable. I don't think he is. He still plays a big part in that team, and they would have to put some serious thought into that if they did sell Dzeko to Arsenal. And that for me is why I don't see this deal happening in January, because I don't think they would have enough time. If this was going to happen for me, this would happen in the summer, so they can have the full 8 weeks to look for all those teams, and possibly go abroad and send out a few scouts and see where they're going to go from there. Yeah. So, do you want to go on and talk about the goalkeepers, Joe?
Yeah, let's do it. Something. This is at the request or at the recommendation of Troy, who regularly listens to the show. Wanted us to see Ben and I put together our top 5 at each position. So we're going to start out this week with the goalkeepers. This does take a little bit of time to research. So because I treated this, I treated this, instead of looking at the top 5 in Europe, I treated it kind of as the top 5 in the world. Although my 5 goaltenders ended up being all in Europe. But I almost treated it as the world. I didn't want to leave anybody out. But what we'll do is we'll do the goaltenders this week. It does take some time to research, so maybe not next week, but the week after we'll do the defense, and then we'll work our way up to the top 5 strikers in the world. So, Ben, let's I do have some honorable mentions on my list. I don't know if
I was just gonna say to you, do you want to make it? Do you want to make it world? Because like I was saying, pretty much for me there was only one goalkeeper outside of Europe that was really even close for me, but I did kind of want to include him. So, can we make it world so I can give him a mention?
No doubt about it. Absolutely. That's the way I treated this, and I was treating it as world. Although all 5 of my top 5 keepers play in Europe, and my honorable mentions all play in Europe as well. But
yeah, he plays in Europe, but he's not European. So.
Oh yeah, no, I have a non-European on my top 5 as well. So,
okay.
Do you want to do? Did you have any honorable mentions first? Let's go there.
For me, apart from this season, I still do think you have to include Joe Hart. I don't think you can write off somebody of that quality. I mean, there's an old saying, an adage to say that class is permanent, form is temporary, and for me, Joe Hart is still going to be one of those for a mention. Great shot stopper, brilliant in the air. He's lost a bit of confidence of late, but you can't count him out. There's a few. De Gea for me is coming through, another young goalkeeper. Decent. I could see him in the future being one of those type of goalkeepers. And I'm just trying to think. I had one more in my brain. It'll come to me, Joe. Go through your first one, and I'll see if I can remember who the third honourable mention was. But yeah, I've got my top 5 anyway for when we go.
Let's see. I've actually got 6 keepers that I put on my honourable mention list, and it was tough. Some of these guys were very, very tough to leave out of my top 5. With my top 5, there's a couple selections that I might be considered a homer.
Actually, go on, carry on. I've got 2 honourable mentions, but carry on, go.
But for me, a couple of honourable mentions. Simon Mignolet, Liverpool in Belgium. Playing very, very well at Liverpool. Although obviously with the 3 goals this weekend doesn't back me up much. But Simon Mignolet was one that I thought of. Also, you'll notice that for the most part, my goalies are all going to the World Cup. All their countries have qualified, but their personal teams are also playing very well as well. So another honorable mention for me was Asmir Begovic from Stoke. Despite Stoke's their position in the Premier League, he's probably the only reason they are still within reaching distance, or at least staying out of the relegation zone. So another one that, and actually this particular person might even end up in your top 5. This was one of the toughest ones to leave out of the top 5. And that's Peter Cech from Chelsea in the Czech Republic. Historically, a wonderful goaltender. I've actually seen Peter Cech play in person when the U.S. played the Czech Republic here in a friendly a couple years ago. So I did get to see him play personally. Just a wonderful talent, a wonderful career. So he's one of my honorable mentions. One of my other honorable mentions, and another one that I probably could have put in my top 5, but I decided not to, was Hugo Lloris from Tottenham. At the time when I actually made this list, France hadn't qualified for the World Cup yet; they were still out. So, but Hugo Lloris, again, he's playing very well at Tottenham, and again a world-class goalkeeper. One that is kind of forgotten and in my top 5, and the reason he's forgotten is because his team was relegated last year, and that's Julio Cesar from QPR and the Brazilian national team. Again, another one that really I was going on career, but again a solid goaltender. And my last honorable mention is Victor Valdez, and I'm going to leave it at that. He's the goalie for Barcelona. He plays for Spain. World-class goalkeeper, but I left him out of the top 5. So, Ben, go ahead. What else do you have for honorable mention?
Yeah, like I said, Peter Cech for me was going to be an honorable mention. I do think that since he had the problem with his head, where he fell on his head, possibly he's lost 1 or 2% there, but he's still one of the best shot stoppers around. He's made some incredible saves. I mean, for me, before that, he was the best goalkeeper in the world. He was. He's so good at commanding his area. You can't say anybody else is better than him, in my opinion. And and he's been captaining that Chelsea side ahead of John Terry and Frank Lampard. For me, he's just a massive character. And lastly, one of your boys, Joe, Buffon, for me. I know he's getting older, and I know he's, arguably he's losing it a little bit now, but career, Buffon was the best. So good. So good. So yeah, they were honourable mentions, so we'll go straight on to our picks then.
Okay, so I actually, when we had talked earlier, you hadn't put them in a list of top 5, in ranking them. I did, so I'm going to give you. What we'll do is we'll trade back and forth. I'll go through my top 5, but I'll let you just give me a keeper. So we'll trade keepers, and we'll see if they're on the same list. So my homer selection was my 5th place keeper, and that's Tim Howard of the United States. He was the 2009 Confederations Cup best goalkeeper. In that competition were goalies like Iker Casillas, Gigi Buffon, Julio Cesar. All 3 of them played in that competition. He's currently got 6 clean at the time of me coming through my notes here, doing my notes on the show. He had 6 clean sheets in the Premier League, a league that's known to score goals. And he doesn't play for ManCity, where they're scoring goals in bunches. So for me, Tim Howard was my number 5. Again, I could have easily replaced Tim Howard with any of the other honorable mentions. And if I would have replaced him, I probably would have chosen Hugo Lloris. I think would have been my first choice, and then maybe Peter Cech instead. But Tim Howard, number 5 for me. Go ahead, Ben.
Okay, actually, I'm going to say Julio Cesar, the Brazilian goalkeeper. I know you mentioned him earlier. Just a great goalkeeper for me, absolutely brilliant. I know you don't get to see as much of him now, unless he's playing for the national squad. But he just doesn't seem to make many mistakes for me. Very, very rare, brilliant goalkeeper. And I don't see him staying at QPR unless they pop straight back up. He's too good for the Championship. He's definitely, for me, he is in the top 5. He's such a good shot stopper. Always looks in command of his defence as well. Very vocal as well. So yeah, Julio Cesar.
Agreed. Okay. Number 4 was a person you had on your honorable mention list, and that was Gigi Buffon. And I went back and looked at some of his stats. This year he's got 6 clean sheets in the Serie A. I do agree, though, he's certainly taken a step or lost a step Although he against Udinese this weekend, he backed up the way my thoughts. He made a couple of wonderful saves. In 32 games played this year, he has 105 saves, and that was tops for all the goalkeepers that I looked at. So he's still, the old man still has it, and like I said, he has lost a step. And Gigi Buffon could be considered a little bit of a homer choice for me, but he's certainly right now the best goalie in Italy, and World Cup champion. There are 2 World Cup champions on my list. And still, in my opinion, still has it, although just barely. So, who do you got for number 4?
I'm going to go with the Roma goalkeeper.
Yes.
For Holland as well. For me, he's one that really, really goes under the radar. You don't hear much about him, but he just doesn't get the accolades he deserves. Obviously, he moved to Roma from Ajax. But like I said, he's gone under the radar. He's just got so much natural ability. He's 6'5", but he's so agile. And even when Edwin van der Sar, who when he was playing in Holland as number 1, he was the best keeper in the world for me, and he was pushing him every single week, every single time the national team got together. And Stekelenburg's taken over as number 1, and he keeps Tim Krul and Michael Vorm on the bench. He's just an outstanding goalkeeper, and I think he would be in the squad, if not in goal, for any team in Europe for me.
I definitely, he's certainly, I should have put him in at least my honorable mention list. I'd totally forgotten about Stekelenburg. So, number 3 for me is the great Ilker Casillas, or as Ray Hudson referred to him, Madrid. Casillas over Victor in the most important games, which are the semifinal versus Brazil, and the guy that was chosen. Any of the elimination games, he's the guy. The only player, the of him is Victor Valdez, and the goalie for Real Madrid is escaping me now. That's taken his place, but Spain has 3 wonderful Diego Lopez. Thank you. So. And right now, Diego Lopez is kind of taken over for him at Real Madrid, although he still does get in the games. But for me, when your national team and the pride of your country, when you are called upon as the number 1 choice, you're still that number 1 goalkeeper. I don't care what happens at Real Madrid. So for me, that's why I chose Ilker Casillas, and I chose him at number 3. And again, like I said, right now that I can think of, there are only 2 goaltenders that are playing actively right now that have won World Cups, and both of them are in my top 5. So go ahead, Ben. Who do you got for 3?
Yeah, Casillas should get a mention, really, for me. A great goalkeeper, and I should have given him a mention. Number 3, I'm going to go for Salvatore Sirigu, PSG goalkeeper, Italian goalkeeper. He's been so influential in PSG's progress since the billionaires whatever took over, and he's definitely up the side, to win Liga 1. I know he's a second choice behind Buffon, but for me, he's the future. He's so good for me. I can't believe he was only 3 million from Palmero. He has got a bright future ahead for me, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on to be the world's best. For me, he's a brilliant goalkeeper. No flaws that I can see.
He's certainly the heir apparent to Gigi Buffon, no doubt about it. Yeah. And I thought about Sirigu myself as well as I was going through these goalies. Just trying to think if there was a way I should honorable mention him or not. So, number 2 for me. And since I've made this list, I'm tempted to put him at number 1, because he's an amazing goalkeeper. But for me, it's Vincent Enyema from Lille in Nigeria. Just to give you an idea, he's only given up 4 goals this year at Lille. At the time that I wrote this, he had 11 clean sheets. I think that is up to 14 clean sheets in 16 games. He beat Monaco 2-0. He led Nigeria to the 2014 World Cup in the qualifiers that Nigeria played. He was one of the reasons their Nigeria was still even moving on. He is the African champion. And can win a game single-handedly. For me, like I said, right now, you may not hear as much about him because he doesn't play in England. He doesn't play for Barcelona. But man, oh man, if this guy ever gets, if he got into a big stage, we would be calling him the greatest goaltender right now on the planet. Yeah,
I agree with you. He doesn't get much plaudits just because you're right, brilliant goalkeeper, and I'm surprised he hasn't been signed up by a big team.
Yeah. So who do you have for number 2?
This was close for me. 2 goalkeepers, but I'm gonna pick the number 2 and say Hugo Lloris for me.
Okay.
I know you did give him a mention, obviously France or Tottenham. I just think, once again, another one that's got a great career for club and country going ahead. He's just got a very long reach for me, with great reflexes, which is, just put those two together and it's brilliant. He's the France captain. He's one of those goalkeepers that, for me, kind of plays a sweeper as well. He's not scared to come off his line and clear the ball if it needs to be cleared. He's comfortable on the edge of his areas. He is on his line, and like I said, great reflexes. For me, Hugo Lloris, one of the best in the world, and I think Tottenham have made an absolute brilliant buy for me. I would not be surprised if he goes on to be the Premier League's best.
I agree. I mean, I had a hard time keeping him off my list, and I even mentioned, like I said, if I had to replace any of my goalies on my list, it would have been with Peter Cech or Hugo Lloris. So, definitely a world-class goaltender. So, my number 1, and again, I'm awful tempted to switch him with Victor Wanyama right now, but my number 1 is Manuel Neuer from Bayern Munich in Germany. He's the only goaltender that plays for both teams. Germany's one of the big favorites to win the World Cup this year. Bayern Munich's won the Champions League. They won the German League. They've won every title, and he's been the man, in the net to keep them in it. 6 clean sheets so far in the Bundesliga for Bayern Munich. Cat-like reflexes, a very, very big body. Structurally like Tim Howard, just very long, very big. As long as Ilkay Casillas, but as big as Tim Howard, and as reflexive as both of them. So that was my number 1. Again, I easily switch him with Victor Wanyama, and I am tempted to do it, but Manuel Neuer number 1 for me.
As we often see on this show, Joe, we seem to agree. Yeah, my number 1's Manuel Neuer as well. Just the best goalkeeper in the world for me. He's solid. He comes out, he closes it down. When he spreads himself, he's just so big. He's hard to get past. He's not scared of getting hurt. Like I said, if you can play for Germany and you can play for Munich and you can get into both of those teams and be number 1, then I think that that's enough said. He's a dominant presence between the posts, and yep, for me, he starts for any team in the world. Yeah.
So Ben, I think on that note, since we always tend to agree, I'm gonna go ahead and close the show. I'll start out the exit music here, and of course I'm using the music from Low Limit Poker Radio, which we run Thursday nights at 9. But Ben, next week, we've got the draw coming up this week for the World Cup. We're gonna have our groups. We're gonna have our groups of death, and I say groups of death plural because we're gonna end up with more than one. But Ben, any other thoughts that you have about football this week?
Just to say that I've started for a new football team, and I'm going to be the next best goalkeeper in the world.
Well, I'll put you number 1 at the list, that's for sure. So next week, I think what we'll do is, like I said, we'll start out with our with our scores like we did. We'll do the World Cup. We'll look at the draws. We'll probably keep it mostly on that, and we'll talk strictly Brazil 2014. We won't have any Champions League to worry about. And then we'll worry about that stuff the week after. So, Ben, I'm ultra happy to have you back again. I can't express enough how happy it is to work with you again. So, thanks for coming by.
Pleasure to be here.
All right. So for everyone, thank you for joining us for Low Limit Football. I am Joe Usello.
And I'm Ben the Machine.
And we'll be back next week on Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining us, and have a good night.